Time now for Lions Central. Here's Brandon Alisaglu and Nick Kostora.
Welcome all back into another episode of Lions Central Radio. I am Nick Kostora. I got Brandon Alisaglu on deck with me here, and we have some good stuff for you this week. The big news surrounding the Lions is Jahvid Best was released by the team this week. There's obviously going to be mixed feelings on his release. There was so much promise when we drafted him, and now concussions have cut his career short. Brandon, I'm gonna turn to you on this one first. Just share some thoughts on Jahvid Best and where he was at with the team.
Well, first off, it always breaks your heart to see a player's career end so quickly, so short. It's the not long league for a reason, but to see his career cut short by these injuries when he had so much promise, at least it looked like it to start, it's pretty sad. But as far as what he brought to the Lions, I've said it multiple times before, and it's been proven by the numbers. When he was there in 2011, they were a different team. They were scary. They had this breakaway threat that came out of the backfield. Then as soon as he was gone, the offense became more about, we got to get it to Calvin Johnson. I mean, in a way, he was the Marshall Faulk for that offense. Now, I'm not saying he's on Marshall Faulk's level, but that's the role he played.
Yeah, he was a spark plug. I was able to go to the Monday night game that year against the Bears when he had 163 yards, and it was just, the offense was just so different with him when he was in the lineup and healthy. It's just, there was an energy about him. There was what they need Reggie Bush to be now was what we got out of Best at his best, and it was so few and far between that we actually got to see him playing at the level that he could play at. That's what makes it so sad, too, is how much potential he did have. This wasn't going to be a marginal player. Best could have been really good, and we'll never know now. And looking back on it, one of the questions that it kind of sucks to have to ask it, but we do, is was he worth a first-round pick? And he wasn't a bust in the traditional sense of the word, but, I mean, we got 3 years out of him. So if you go back, do you take Best in the first round?
Well, and to be fair, it wasn't even really 3 years. That third year was last year when he obviously didn't play it down or participate in practice. They got 22 games out of him. Was he worth a first-rounder in the sense of being able to look back? Of course not. But would I take that shot again if I was Martin Mayhew? I think I might. I know that concussions are a difficult thing, and I guess you never really know. But in 22 games, the kid had 85 catches as a running back. That's ridiculous. The potential was there for it was too good of a thing to pass up. They had to take the chance. I still think he had to pull the trigger if it was me. The only other player that had the same similar skill set that was drafted that year, at least what I was able to find, was Dexter McCluster. And McCluster's good, but he's not the same. And when he was there, he made all the difference as far as Jahvid Best's impact on the team. I think that's what you want out of a first-round pick. What about you?
Yeah, McCluster went at the beginning of the second round, and I think at the time, I would have been pretty upset if it was McCluster that we took over Best, just because, I don't know, Best had the higher ceiling, I think. Some of the interesting guys that came off the board around that time, right after Best, was guys like Roger Saffold, Relius Ben, Sergio Kindle, Rob Gronkowski. Those were some of the names that went at the top of the second round, and I think Best was the right fit. He was the guy that we over McCluster for sure as a running back, and we had a needed position, and we get someone that we thought was going to be as versatile as Best was going to be. It made sense. I mean, revisionist history is, I don't know, sometimes it's tricky, but I would have made the pick as well. I liked the pick at the time, and I mean, injuries are a terrible reason to say it was a bad pick. It wasn't a bad pick. It was a good pick, and injuries got in the way of that. So I don't want to look back on this and say it was a bad draft pick. It was a good draft pick that unfortunately didn't pan out, but it wasn't anyone's fault that it didn't pan out. It's not that he didn't live up to the potential. He just never had a chance to. So there's a couple ways to look at this job at best thing. One angle that we got from a Facebook question actually was from Jordan Wakefield, and that was, do we think Javid Best is ever going to play football again? My short and sweet answer to this question is I think his career is over. I think he's the poster boy for what this league has become in relation to concussions and the risks that they don't want to take. Do you have any other spin on that, Brandon?
No, I agree with you. I think out of any team that would have, that probably maybe they held on too long, but Detroit wasn't going to give up on their first-round pick unless it was absolutely necessary. They weren't going to sign Reggie Bush. But you're right. I think he becomes the poster boy of concussions, and it's unfortunate. At least he, isn't walking away from the game having made nothing, I guess. But like I said, it's always sad to see one walk away with not of their own volition way before their time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's sad. We don't want to see his career end, but that's definitely the direction we both think it's going in. It's a bit of a somber subject, so we wish Javid Best all the best. It'd be great if he did somehow overcome these concussions, but we're not holding our breath for that. It's probably best that he stays away at this point. But let's try and transition away from a bit of a downer subject into the meat of this show, which is going to be our confidence poll. This could be something we end up doing multiple times, but for now we're going to do our preseason confidence poll. And what we're going to do is we're going to go on a 1 to 10 board. We're going to rank our confidence in each position that the Lions have. We're going to lump some together, like we're going to put the defensive backs together and the offensive line together into one group. So yeah, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, and we're going how comfortable we are with this position heading into everything that's coming up, finally putting pads on, the preseason, the whole gamut. So we're going to start on the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to go through each position and give ratings on these guys. We'll start at the quarterback position where we have Matthew Stafford and Sean Hill. Brandon, what are you thinking with these two, the confidence rating wise?
I mean, I have to give it a 9. I'm that all in on Stafford being all in. He showed he's a dedicated leader who understands what he needs to do by sticking around Detroit all summer, by doing all of those types of things that just need to be done. If you remember back during the lockout, there was kind of noise about why weren't they putting together practices when others were. And there was a weird kind of vibe, but eventually he did. I feel like that's not the case anymore, whereas Peyton Manning's always working with the receiver somewhere, or he's always working with Brandon Stokely, at Duke or whatever he was doing half the time. I feel like Stafford now has that same type of dedication that and maybe it wasn't a lack of dedication per se before this, but he understands what he has to do. And you can go back and forth on his mechanics just like he does, but he's much more of a Brett Favre than an Aaron Rodgers. He probably isn't ever going to be the leader in quarterback rating because it's just not the way he does things. But he's effective when he's on his game, and he can win games. He can lead the team to games. And Sean Hill, probably the best backup in the league. Where do you stand?
Hopefully we don't do this too much on these, but I agree almost on every point you made here, 100%. I went with a hard 9 on this one as well. Yet Stafford isn't the prototypical mechanical guy like others are, but he gets the job done. This is one of the positions on the team I'm most confident in, I think, and that's all that talk about Stafford's mechanics and his slight regression that people talked about last season. That's chatter. That's just talk. I don't know. That's just ways to fill time in the offseason, I think. I mean, this guy that's thrown for over 10,000 yards in the last 2 years, he's growing with this offense. He's getting weapons. He hasn't had a run game, a legitimate run game to support him. We're going to see what he does with that this year. So, yeah, I'm a hard 9 with Stafford. And then having Sean Hill, I wrote an article recently. It was in the Detroit Free Press about how Sean Hill's the best security blanket in this league. He's the best backup there is. He could start somewhere if need be. And yeah, if anything happens to Stafford, we have Sean Hill, who's great. Yeah, hard 9 on the quarterback position. We're not going to be as confident in some of these other ones across the board, but quarterback is one we can be confident in with a hard 9. A bit more intriguing question is what we're going to make of this backfield, the running back situation. You've got Reggie Bush, Mikel Lashore, Joik Bell. 1 to 10, Brandon, where are you going?
If I had to find a happy medium between all three of them, it's going to be something close to about a 7.25. And I came up with that number I gave Reggie Bush by himself an 8.5. The only reason he's not as high as the quarterbacks is because he's only played 2 full seasons. And one of those times, just a couple of years ago, he only played half the season. So there is an injury worry. And you might find this odd, but I have Mikel Lashore as the one that's dragging this group down. I'm not convinced about him. That lack of burst is a real issue. The lack of being able to break away from anybody, it could be that Achilles injury held him back more than I understand. And, yeah, sure, he had 9 touchdowns, but I don't feel like that's a reliable indicator of how well he did last year. I mean, wouldn't you rather see Joik Bell, who I actually gave a 7.5 to by himself? Wouldn't you like to see more from him? Doesn't he make you feel more comfortable with the ball in his hands than Mikel Lashore?
Yeah, what you're talking about with Lashore with that lack of burst, you're not just saying that. The man didn't have a carry longer than 16 yards last season, and he was given the ball a ton. So there is a lack of burst. We don't know if that was just him coming off the injury and if suddenly he'll have that burst this season, but we don't know. That's a question mark. With Joik Bell, I think we saw what we can get out of him last year, and yeah, he quietly produced when the Lions did turn to him. I think it's an interesting comparison, and he's kind of like what Chris Ivory has been in the past couple seasons for the Saints, and that's that when you get him the ball, he makes things happen, and then he goes back onto the bench, and no one talks about him. So, right. Yeah, Joik Bell, I think, is someone to be really optimistic about. I mean, we've done this with other players in the past where they show spurts, and then they get a bulk of carries and nothing happens. But I think Joik Bell's different. Yeah, I have confidence in him. A 7.5 sounds about right. That's kind of that cautious optimism with him. I want to be optimistic about Lashore, too, just because of his physical ability and what we saw from him in college. But what I saw from him last season just wasn't encouraging at all. It seemed like if we were giving the ball to Mikel Lashore, we're looking at a 3-yard carry and then a long second down. I want more out of him. I have more faith in Bell at this point, and then I absolutely love what Reggie Bush is bringing to the table, though. I mean, I think they're going to hope for like a thunder and lightning type deal with him, or either Bell or Lashore, maybe both of them. So, yeah, 7.5 for the group. That sounds about right with this running back, this group. There's reason to be optimistic. At the end of the season, this could end up being a pleasant surprise. But for now, there's talent that needs to prove itself in the backfield. 7.5 for these running backs, lower than the quarterbacks. Where will it rank compared to the wide receivers? Where if we're doing individuals, I think we're both going Calvin with a hard 10 here. Any dispute on that?
No, and I didn't even put notes when I did my prep work. It just says 10. If I have to explain that, well, I'm going to use too many words that are probably hyperbole, but I don't know how to accurately analyze his talent without it sounding hyperbolic.
You just find as many adjectives as possible that are positive, and that's Calvin Johnson. But it's the rest of the group where we'll have some fun with this, and the confidence in everyone behind them. For me, outside of Megatron's 10, I'm skeptical of just about everybody. Is Nate Burleson, can he still be a vertical threat to any degree at this point in his career, or is he now just going to be a solid possession receiver? With Ryan Broyles, we know his talent and his skill level, but can we trust him to ever stay healthy? If we can, he's going to be a huge piece to the offense this season, and that's what we want him to be. He's got sure hands. He can go over the middle, but he's got to prove that he can stay on the field, and that's a huge question mark. And then for me, behind those big three, I'm not intrigued really by anybody. Mike Thomas doesn't do anything for me. Chris Durham and Patrick Robinson are Chris Durham and Patrick Robinson. I don't really want to spend much time talking about either of them. So for me, I go with only a 5.5 for this group. Can you give me more optimism on these receivers?
I mean, if I'm going as a group, and so are you excluding Megatron with that 5.5, or is that you needed him to get that high?
Megatron's boosting me to the 5.5. To be honest, I don't like really anything. I want to like Ryan Broyles, but I want to see him stay on the field first. I'm not a big Nate Burleson fan, and I hate the other guys on the depth chart. So What say you?
I mean, I'm going with at least a 7.
Yeah.
The reason being is I'm not expecting Nate Burleson to be too much. Looking back over his stats, he has something like 15 touchdowns in the last 5 years. What is that going to do for anybody, really? He had one really big year, and besides that, there's been these flashes, and then there's been injuries. He's been about as inconsistent as they come, but he's aging, but at least he could probably find somewhere to contribute, but it's not going to be a lot. He's a 5 or a 6 at this point. But Ryan Broyles, he's a 9 if his knees are sound. He can be exactly what the Lions need on the other side of Megatron. He's fast enough, he's explosive enough, and he displayed that in the few snaps that he got to have last year before he went down. But like you said, Mike Thomas, I'm not excited about him being out there. I mean, I know he has some decent talent, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't make the team. Mm-hmm. Big reason for that being I'm cautiously optimistic about Patrick Robinson. He obviously has natural ability. Everybody kept talking about him last year. And hopefully that year off due to injury just brings him back and pumped up and full of determination to really make an impact this year. And that could end up being huge. But, yeah, and like you said, Chris Durham, whatever, in a reserve role, used sparingly, we've seen he can at least catch the ball when thrown his way. But let's not expect much out of him. But, yeah, and also with Mike Thomas, there's absolutely no way he's on the roster in 2014 when he'll be making just under $4 million, and cutting him there'll be no cap hit if you cut him. I can't imagine they bring him back. But, yes, As far as the group as a whole, besides Megatron, I'll give it a 7, and that's probably putting too much faith in Ryan Broyles.
And that's the other question I wanted to ask here. Is I think we're both agreeing that Broyles is the piece of the puzzle that's going to end up being most important. What would be your confidence level that Ryan Broyles is able to stay healthy and be on the field this season? Is he someone that we're expecting to play 16 games this year?
Well, we ran into this problem with Matthew Stafford before, and
yeah,
I mean, injuries happen. It wasn't like he did something to where he just re-injured it, or it's a recurring injury, or even like Gronkowski, who continuously has these forearm problems and the surgeries aren't taking and things like that. I think it's football. And if you had to ask me as far as barring anything crazy, I mean, I give him a 9 to be out there the entire time. Why not? It's not that he's not a tough kid. It's just the way sometimes that the field breaks.
Yeah, that's an important distinction, too. His injuries were actually to 2 separate knees. It's not like he has just one chronically ailing knee that keeps popping up. His chance of getting hurt is just as high or is just the same as everyone else's. I'm with you. We expect him to be on the field. Let's go a 9 on that. Ryan Broyles will be on the field. And if an injury happens, it's not because he has a chronic issue with one part of his body. It's just football. So let's turn to the tight ends, the last part of the skill position group here. We have Pettigrew, we have Scheffler, and we possibly have Christian Foria. Where do we stand on these tight ends? I personally love the Pettigrew-Scheffler combo. I think I've mentioned that on the show before as a 1-2 punch, that you have the blocking and the pass-catching ability. For me, if Foria does somehow slip in and take Tony Scheffler's spot, I don't want to see it happen. I don't think it would happen, but so be it. Foria is a talented young kid, and maybe a nice influx of youth at the tight end position will be good for the team. Either way, I love the group. I go an 8 on this one. I think this could be Pettigrew. Well, we say this every year. This could be Pettigrew's breakout year. Don't you start to just hate saying that this could be Pettigrew's year to finally do it?
Yeah, it sounds very Jermichael Finley-esque.
Oh, gosh, I hate it.
But with Pettigrew, it's a contract year. If anything makes somebody focus, it's
ding, ding, ding.
Exactly. He needs to make sure that he can eat next year. So not that somebody wouldn't pay him at least something to play football next year, because he has all the tools. He just lacks consistency. He's obviously got to be. It can't be a problem of effort, or at least I don't think it is. The only reason I say that is because he blocks well. And if you're lazy, you're not going to block well. So that it just makes me think that question of effort. But that being said, I still only give him a 7 just because I've been let down too many times. I'm not getting my hopes up for him. What'll actually surprise you are I gave out 2 9s in this group, and one was to Michael Williams because my confidence in him is based on the fact that all he really needs to do is be the big man that can block and catch maybe 4 passes all year. He can do that. The other one, Tony Scheffler.
There you go.
I mean, I want to make sure that people understand that I never said I didn't appreciate his skills or that I didn't think he was a good fit in the offense. I just think if Floria can do what he can do, it's the right move to go younger and save more money. That's how you run a Madden franchise. That's how you run a real franchise.
Yeah, football is still a business.
But as far as Floria himself, I only give him a 5. I mean, it's a wild card. I have really no idea how he's going to respond when he starts getting hit by NFL defenders or jammed at the line of scrimmage. He's too much of a wild card right now for me to have too much confidence in him. But I will say if it was an excitement factor, it'd be much higher.
Okay, so for the group, you're going 7. You got Floria is the low man with a 5, and then Scheffler's your high mark with Williams at 9. That's fair. Where did you have Pettigrew at? What was your number for him?
I had him at a 7.
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of, it's you just don't know with that man. I want to be a big Brandon Pettigrew fan so bad because I just love what he can do. Just 2013, just finally put it together, Pettigrew. Gosh, I want it so bad for him. I take him in fantasy 3 out of the last 4 years. Oh, well, I'll probably take him again this year, whatever. I will. This is the year. I'll convince everyone he's going to break out for real. But much scarier is the offensive line where there are questions everywhere. Let's start at the offensive tackle position. I think is where there's the most reason to be nervous. We're going to have the battle at right tackle. We've talked about it in length at this show. We will continue to because it's going to be a huge part of the preseason puzzle. That's watching Jason Fox and Corey Hilliard battle it out for the right tackle spot. We've talked about how we want Fox to win this job, or we think he should. But what's the confidence level in either or both of these guys?
For the tackles as a group, I go about a 6 because I do really believe in Reif's ability to handle that the left side. I'm guardedly optimistic because he's shown what he can do on the right side. He's an excellent run blocker who didn't get a great chance to showcase his pass protecting skills, but when called upon to, he handled it admirably. I'd love to give Fox a higher grade because everybody tells me how talented he is, but there's not a lot to go on here. He's constantly injured. I don't know what to think. And if I could extract Hilliard from the tackle spot and just kind of grade him on being a backup lineman, he gets at least an 8 because he's a reliable guy. He might struggle a bit as a starter, but he holds his own when he's on the field, and he's great at plugging those holes. He just keeps handling whatever's thrown at him. As far as the starter on that right side, I'm nervous. I know that one of them can kind of handle it, but how do you feel about it?
I think nervous is the right word for it. We want to be more optimistic about this. But with Hilliard, like you said, he's a plug-in-and-play guy. How can you plug him in at right tackle for an entire season and not have too many leaks? I'm not comfortable with that at all. I went for just between this battle, I went with a 5 on this. I want to see Fox win it, and I want to see him have potential, but we don't even know. We haven't seen him on the field enough to know. So 5's there. With Rife on the other side, or Rifey, I don't know. Riley, I went with a 7. I liked what I saw from him last season on the right side. I think the transition for him will be smooth over to the left side. I think he can handle that. Rife is a 7. I like him on the left side. It's the right side that scares me so much. So, balances out. I'm going with a 5 here for the tackle group. I'm much more confident in what we have at guard. I absolutely love Rob Sims. And then I was just talking about the transition that Rife is making, and we have Larry Warford coming in, making a transition from college to pro game. And the guard position and what he's going to be asked to, I don't think that's going to be a difficult transition really at all. He's going to be asked to maul people and run them over and open up lanes for the backfield, Bush and company. And I think he can do that well. I'm this is where I'm one of the most confident spots on the team for me is at guard, actually. I went with a 9, which is as high as I went for the quarterback. I love Sims and Warford here. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I actually gave Sims a 10 all by himself. I really think year after year, he just gets it done. He moves bodies around, opens holes, doesn't get his quarterback hurt, and he's still young enough that you don't have to worry about things yet. He's only 29. He'll be turned 30, I believe, in December. So he could still be here for another 4 or 5 years and still play at this consistently high level. Warford, I like him a lot, but it's a tough call. I think he's going to be a very solid player as time moves on, but if we're grading it on how he's going to be, how confident I am in him today, I worry about his ability to handle the quickness of today's interior linemen. They're not just big bruising guys like the Williams brothers used to be for, well, not really brothers, but for the Vikings, but they're Sharif Floyd, they're Ndamukong Suh. They can maul you as well as slip right by you. And Warford, I know he's in the SEC and he played against plenty of players of that ilk somewhat. It's going to be different when he's doing it every day and he's playing the cream of the crop constantly. I only give him a 7 as he is right now, and that's maybe guardedly low. Maybe I'm being too cautious, but I need to see at least something. By the time the season starts, I'm sure I'll be gushing over him just like I do over every other rookie. But for now, I'm going to handle him a 7. And you know what's funny? I actually give a higher grade to Dominic Raiola, who we constantly, or at least Lions fans, love to constantly criticize. 1, because he has struggled at times, especially in the past. 2, because, well, he's not always the most likable dude flicking off fans. And, well, basically he doesn't take our crap.
No, he doesn't.
That turns into not being likable, and that's probably not fair to him. But I think as far as this year, he knows his time is coming to an end. He had a very good season last year, but he's stubborn. He obviously is stubborn, the way he won't roll over for fans, even his own. I think he's stubborn enough to hold the point of attack, and he can lean on his more talented guards to help him out if he needs to. I think we get one last push from the old man.
Yeah, with Raiola, I mean, we know what we're getting. There's one spot where there's no question mark. You know exactly what you're getting. He's a less than stellar run blocker. He can handle himself in pass protection. Raiola. What would be just average here? I guess is a 7. I'll go 7 for Dominic Raiola. You know what you're getting. I don't love what you're getting, but it is what it is. So there's no surprises with a guy like Dominic Raiola, except for what he might occasionally say on the microphone. So I guess that's where the fun will be with him this year. His career is winding down, and we know what we'll get out of him. And I don't know, is he the anchor of this offensive line since he's been here so long? I don't want to say that or anything, but yeah, 7 for Raiola. That's kind of a interesting way to end the offensive rankings, I guess, is with the biggest question mark for us is that offensive line.
Well, and you know it's not a question mark.
What's that?
Onnit.com. Onnit.com has vitamins and minerals. They have, or vitamins and supplements, excuse me. You can also get 10% off by going to onnit.com/football radio. These aren't a joke, folks. People like Joe Rogan use them. You can find all kinds of testimonials. You'll hear them advertised on other podcasts. You'll see it everywhere and for good reason. You should check it out. That's Onnit, onnit.com/football radio, and you get 10% off.
And now we turn to the defensive side of the ball, the opposite way here. We looked at the offense. Let's look at the defense. Let's go position by position. Let's look at the confidence here. And we're going to start at a position where I know you're going to have plenty to say on a certain player. I won't spoil who. But defensive end, our confidence level in these guys. Can I just
talk about Ansel now?
For a while?
Thank you. Jeez.
Unload. Let it happen.
It's been a half hour of talking about offensive linemen and some dude named Megatron. Let's get to it. No, obviously, I love Ezekiel Ansel. If you've ever heard this show before or follow my Twitter or anything. But for all my constant chatter, I'm also not stupid completely. I understand that we were talking about a rookie. And we're also talking about a rookie who's extremely inexperienced when it comes to football in general. I still give him an 8.99 just to be a jerk. But like I've said a million times already, this defense is just, it's perfect for him. It's the perfect marriage of skill set and scheme. He just has to charge up the field and go create havoc in the backfield. All you really need for that is speed and quickness. He's got both of those, and some strength to go with it. I mean, please tell me you're somewhere close to there.
Well, and on top of those things, you also need reliable players on the opposite him, and I think that was one of the biggest things the Lions did this offseason was they got players to put with them. I love bringing in Jason Jones and Israel Adonijah. I think those are the perfect veteran, still capable players to add to this mix. For me, Adonijah was one of the best, quiet moves this offseason. I love bringing in Israel Adonijah. I think he could be an unsung hero for this team. So, yes, I am with you on Ansah. I feel like with how little he's played football and everything we've got into with that, I should be less confident in this position. And to be completely honest, I'm not worried about the defensive end. I think we're good here. Because let's say Ansah does for some reason not grasp it immediately. I think Jones and Adonijah can plug that long enough until he does start to develop his game. I mean, with the Lions defense, the defensive line is more critical than most teams because we don't blitz our linebackers. We're counting on this front four to get to the quarterback, and I think these guys can do it. And I love the idea of Jones and Adonijah kind of showing the ropes to Ansah and the young guy Devin Taylor and teaching them how this is supposed to be done. I'm with you. I love it. Another argument for another time. I'm so excited. I think Ansah can compete for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I don't want to start jumping that gun. My meter here, let's lump them together. For the group, is lower than your 8.99. It's an 8.5, so we are clearly reading the same vibes here.
Well, I mean, for the group, I'm sorry, I probably wasn't specific because I was talking about the Ansah because that's all I like to talk about.
I understand.
But as far as the group, I give it a solid 8, maybe a 7 if you start including the rotational players like Willie Young, because I don't think Young, he was a 7th-round pick, so it's not like it was unfair at first because we saw him show these little flashes. We saw him fill in and make a play or two throughout the season. We're like, all right, that's great. This is a 7th-round pick. He might be able to come in and start someday. I think we took our expectations too high, where we probably had none because he was a 7th-round pick. Then we ramped him way up, and he's probably right there in the middle somewhere, just a good rotational player. Devin Taylor, I know you like him. Not nearly as high on him as you because I'm worried about that lack of effort. I'm just not sure what to think of him yet. As far as Jason Jones, I think he's a solid presence, but I agree on Israel Adonijah 100%. Here's the man I expect to start and have a huge impact on this team. Obviously, you and I are paying a bunch of attention to it. I'm sure plenty of our listeners are as well. But the rest of the league is going to take notice of this and rue the day that they didn't make this signing too, because he's a finisher. He can start and he can rotate all over the field. Detroit loves defenders with versatility, especially on that defensive line. Well, I think Gunther Cunningham just got a new toy. I think this is it's another great fit for this team, which I can't believe how many times I've already said that.
Yeah, it's only going to open up lanes for your boy Ansah. It's got to be exciting, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so let's move to the interior of that defensive line that we're saying is so important. And I have written down 10, 10, 10.
Woo!
Yeah, can we go lower than a 10 with Stu and Fairley and then Mosley backing them up in the rotation?
Well, I went 10.99, so yeah, you can.
Come on.
But I mean, I think we both agree that we expect a dominant and a consistently monster season from Sue this year. He was quietly awesome last year. It was one of those things where now people are so sidetracked about, what a jerk he supposedly is or how dirty he is or whatever it might be, that he still just makes plays, and because he is an interior defensive lineman, we don't think about it that much. And then with Nick Fairley, everything I've heard this offseason is great. He's in better shape, and these two defensive tackles are going to hunt. And Mosley, that he might push Adonijah as the most underrated signing, but I still think Adonijay is going to have too much of an impact. But Mosley, that's a skilled vet who Sammy Hill, the loss of him was big, but Mosley's better, right?
I think so. I mean, we both said we wish Hill was still in the mix. He's not. I'd rather have Mosley anyway. Yeah, I love him in the mix. And I am a biased Lions writer, radio guy, whatever, but this is the best group of defensive tackles in the league, is it not?
I can't think of any better. I mean, I understand Minnesota has Floyd and Williams, but I don't know who's behind them off the top of my head, nor does anything jump out at me. As far as any other defensive tackles, combinations that can match them, no, I agree. I think this is the tops in the league. Good luck trying to, well, you know, that's a weird thing, though. It's not that traditional wall, like the Williams wall. You're not going to run here. You're not going to do this. It's that charging forward up the field type of defensive tackle position. It's going to be interesting. I think, like I said, I think they're just going to be hunters. I think this defensive line is going to go after quarterbacks with a vengeance.
Yeah. I'm encouraged to see who gets the stats out of this group. Who's the one that the offensive line has to let through? Who do they double? Who do they single? Who do you key in on this defensive line? I'm probably way too excited about this.
Well, and you know what? I kind of almost wish that they would just play a 52 the whole time, because there's Jason Jones could play inside as well. Because the linebackers group, not nearly as excited about. In fact, I think it's the weakest position on the team by far. How do you feel about them?
Well, as far as the weakest on the team, I think there's I don't know if kicker counts, but I'll get into him later. Yeah, as far as actual positions, probably the weakest on the team. I'm still of the Tulloch variety. I'm still going to support Tulloch and say, for me, he's one of the top. Well, one of the better middle linebackers in this league. So that's not where my questions are. But the Tahir Whitehead Ashley Palmer battle that's going to brew for the spot opposite DeAndre Levy, that doesn't do anything for me. I'm not excited about either one of these guys. I mean, Whitehead, I guess that's not really fair to say because we haven't seen him yet. He's still young. We don't know what he can do, but I don't know. I'm not that excited to find out, to be honest with you.
Well, for the group as a whole, my confidence only hits a 5.5, and that's with giving your boy Tulloch a 9. So, no. It was never that I don't think he can do it. It's just that he didn't do it, and I need to see it. But now you're
confident that he will this year. You're clearly confident that he's going to turn it back around.
He's too talented not to. I think he can do it, and I think he's going to use what I said as motivation. Well, okay, probably not.
Oh, absolutely. You're bulletin board material, friend.
But he needs to pick it up, and he can. But Levy, the more research I did into Levy, the more concerned I got.
Same way. Same feeling.
The only decent year he had was 2010. Do you know he was actually worse in 2011 than he was last year? And he wasn't good last year.
No, last season he had 82 tackles. What's that doing for you?
That's great, but how many of those are 5-6 yards behind the line of scrimmage?
Right.
He misses a fair amount of tackles as well. I mean, like I said, 2010 was his best year, and it's been a steady decline since then. That's kind of scary for a guy that the Lions originally thought might be their stalwart middle linebacker, which obviously they saw that coming a while ago. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the deal for Tulloch.
Yeah, we see Levy on the depth chart, and I think a lot of people just assume, okay, we're good there. Are we good there? With 0 sacks last season, he had 9 tackles for a loss, 82 total tackles. I'm not sure DeAndre Levy is someone that we have confidence in. I don't. I gave this group a 4.5. I have a lot of half scores for some reason. 4.5. I don't like it at all. I mean, even with Tulloch, who I do like a lot, it's not enough to balance out how little confidence I have in the Whitehead, Palmer, Levy combination. When we look past that exciting front four into the linebacking core, we start to realize why the Lions aren't considered the tops of even this division.
I mean, I almost missed Justin Durant. Almost.
Yeah, almost.
But Yeah, Levy missed 11 tackles last year. That's more than 10%. That's not good.
No, not at all.
And, he only had 5 quarterback hurries and 1 quarterback hit. As a group, and this is including Durant, but they only had 2 sacks all of last year. That's kind of pathetic.
Yeah, and that's a half for Tulloch and Durant each. They each had a half. So it's not like they each even earned one themselves.
Exactly. And as far as Whitehead, Lewis, and Palmer, I mean, Palmer's just an okay player. He's like a poor man's Corey Hilliard, except obviously with the linebackers.
Oh, that's awful. let me ask you this. Did you ever notice DeAndre Levy last year? Did he ever do something where you were like, there's a good football player? DeAndre Levy.
Oh, I'm sure I noticed him a time or two, but it definitely wasn't with the word good or football.
Right.
There was an F word in there, and there was a G word I used quite a bit too, but neither of them are appropriate for this show. Whitehead and Lewis, special teams players, I haven't heard anything about them seizing the opportunity that is obviously right in front of them. Really hoping that somebody proves me wrong here in training camp, but until then, these linebackers are going to be an issue. Tulloch's going to have to make, I don't know, somewhere around 173 tackles for me to feel comfortable with this team, or with the linebackers, because they could get just gashed by the running game. I mean, that's what the wide nine gives up, hoping their linebackers can make plays, and the investments that they've made there, they're not panning out. And that's the only thing that really scares me about this team. Well, the offensive line. If you have me ranked the 2 fears, though, linebackers one.
Linebacker has to be one. We should get into this more later, because there's a giant hole there behind the front 4 that needs to be addressed. And I'm not confident in Levy. I'm not confident in Whitehead or Palmer, and I like Tulloch. Yeah, 4 for me. I think you said, or I said 4.5. I think you went. What did you go? 5.5, 6.5?
Yeah, I think it went about 5.5.
Yeah, just not good. Let's hope for a brighter spot here when we get into the DBs. Let's start with the corners. Chris Houston we brought back. There's going to be a competition on the other side. I think Darius Slade's the one that ends up getting it. I know you feel differently. Confidence level. But, I'm sorry. Who do you got on the other side?
Right now, I've got a big question mark on the other side.
Yeah. Well, it is a giant question mark. I'm taking a shot with Slade. I don't know.
Yeah, well, what's your confidence level for this group?
Oh, it's not high. I mean, I'm confident enough in Chris Houston alone. I give him probably an 8 because I like what we get out of him. We know what we're getting out of him. He's a guy that would start anywhere in the league. He's a good player. It was really nice that we found the money to bring him back. And thank goodness we did, because the corners need all the help they can get. It's just young talent with potential, and it's so scary just looking at a group of young talent. Jonte Green, Bill Bentley, Darius Slay, Chris Greenwood. It's 4 question marks where we don't know. Maybe as long as one of them can break out and start opposite Houston, we'll be good. But I'm not going to give a high confidence rating on a what-if scenario. For the group of corners, my confidence level is at a 5. I am right in the middle of this. I like them better than the linebackers, but I'm not in love with this group.
Well, I'm in love with Chris Houston, and I gave him a 9.5 on his own. He's not Darrelle Revis, and he might not be quite at that great level, but he's a very good cornerback, and he doesn't make many of the mistakes that burn this team consistently. And it feels like things are starting to get put together for him. I think he might even take a next step into becoming a top 10 cornerback. But like you said, he'd start anywhere. So as far as my confidence in him, I give that a 9.5. Now the rest of them, about a 5.5. And I actually gave Slay the advantage of a 6.5. Probably, and it's mostly just about that speed, those physical tools. But I understand he can play zone or man. But a lot of times when you told me how many different and diverse skills you have, that means you have no expertise in any of them. So I'm a little nervous about that. Like Jonte Green, you can kind of lump him in with all the others. Bill Bentley's a bigger Jonte Green, if you want to put it that way. They're all kind of lumped together as, like you said, young guys with talent, with the exception of Ron Bartell, who...
I didn't even mention Bartell. That's my mistake.
Yeah, I believe he's 31 or maybe 32. I mean, with the obvious caveat of Don Kelly. Well, and also I read something where Jim Schwartz basically hinted that Ron Bartell running with the first team was just kind of a tip of the cap because he's a veteran. But I think it had more to do, reading between the lines, it had more to do with motivating all these young guys, saying, you're not going to be given this. You want it,
right.
Go and get it. Although I wish they'd just line up with maybe like 10 or 9 defenders. That way the linebackers would figure out. I want him to threaten to play with 10 or 9 players in the game if none of these linebackers can figure it out. I don't see why that's so bad. But Chris Greenwood, as much as Bartell, I've gone off about his physical skills because maybe he's Slay without the mental talent. He's just like Darius Slay, and he's fast and can move, and he's strong enough. But I'm worried about him because they're talking about him being lost in the defense on the field. Like he makes a lot of rookie mistakes.
He's not a rookie.
Well, exactly. And I can understand he's a rookie because he didn't get to play last year, didn't get a lot of reps. Fine, but what did you do all year? Why don't you know where to go?
Yeah, he was still watching film. He should still know where to be on the field.
Exactly. That's why where's the hunger? And without that drive to be great, I'm not really sure what exactly he's going to become. So, yeah, I have very little confidence. You take out Chris Houston, I'm a 5.5, maybe a 5. But put in Chris Houston, you can bump me all the way up to a 6.5 if you want. But that's about it. Hopefully those safeties will do better, though. What do you think about them?
Safety is going to bail out the corners here as far as the whole defensive backfield goes, just because of how big a fan I am of GQ, Glover, Grover, Quinn. I love bringing him in. I think he adds dynamic ability to the defensive backfield. I love bringing him in.
Whoa, I'm challenging that word score. What was that? I'm going to get out the dictionary.
I said dynamicity, dynamic something. I don't know. I love Glover Quinn, GQ. He's great. He's going to be a solid rock for that defensive backfield. We know he'll be on the field as much as we don't know that Louis Delmas will be. If we can get Quinn and Delmas on the field together for an entire season and not have to worry about seeing Don Carey or Amari Spivey ever touch playing time, we're in a good place for this secondary, and especially these safeties. If it's Quinn and it's Delmas all season, solid 9. We don't know it'll be Delmas all season. We know he gets hurt all the time. So because of that, I put the group at a 7.5. 7.5 just because we don't know what to make of Delmas. If Delmas is healthy, 9.
Well, it's too bad that apparently we have pretty similar opinions on most of the team. But, I'm about there as far as I gave Delmas alone a 7 because that's how scared of his knees I am. Did I just go Yoda? Anyways, he brings a lot of intensity and motion to that defense, and that's great. But if he's not there, it doesn't matter, like you said. But I feel like he's found his soulmate in the more coverage-inclined GQ. He can go attack things. He can go blow people up that are, and he can blow up the running game. He can run around and make plays while Quinn's in the back handling the coverage responsibilities. You have to feel really good about Glover, GQ's odds for success. And plus, his contract isn't exorbitant. It's a nice contract. It gives him some validation as a football player, but it isn't a now I can rest contract. It's there's still work to be done here kind of contract. And he's just hitting his prime. It feels like everything is set up for him to have a great year, and hopefully it's with Delmas at his side, because if it's Don Carey, you got to drop it down at least 2 notches.
We pick on Don Carey a lot.
Well, yeah, but he can play football for a living, so I think he wins.
Yeah.
But he does fine when used sparingly, but he struggled in 2010 when he was asked to do a lot. Granted, he was younger then, and he's been playing better as he gets older, so maybe. But And then there's the Maurice Bavay, who I actually have him down as a 3.
Oh, no.
I've at this point, what I can say is he might be the best chasing from behind safety in all of the league.
Oh, absolutely.
He's an okay-ish tackler who hasn't really done anything on the promise that he showed 3 years ago. He hasn't been able to stay healthy or effective enough for me to have any faith in him. I mean, what do you want me to do with that? Yeah, so
leave it alone. Just leave him there. Just ignore him.
Is he going to make the roster?
Oh, he'll make the roster just because looking at the depth chart, let's look who's behind them. Tyrell Johnson and Martavius Nellums. So Maurice Bavay will make the roster. I'm pretty confident of that.
All right. I mean, there's always that first round of cuts that could lead to something happening, but granted, they're not going to pick up somebody. Oh, what happened to Chris Hope? Isn't he there?
Yeah, Chris Hope's hanging out. Yeah, well, I'm looking at the depth chart on our lads. It's got Chris Hope as in the strong safety bit. He's way back on that. Yeah, Hope will make the team. I think we got Quinn. Delmas will make it. Don Carey's a lock. Ricardo Silva. Who knows? I don't know. Behind Delmas and Quinn, let's just hope we don't worry about. Let's not worry about the 10 names behind Delmas and Quinn, and let's just have both of them on the field all year. All right.
Oh God, I didn't know Matt Millen was making an appearance tonight.
All right, so I've been I lined up a heck of a segue to get us to the next one. All right, so remember how you said Glover Quinn's entering his prime?
Yeah.
You know who's not? Is David Akers. The Lions didn't play there. Confidence level in David Akers, I don't know, the scale is 1 to 10, so I can't go lower than a 1. No, I'm not going to go 1. I want to. My confidence in him is a 3. Because I want him to be my lowest confidence level of any of these groups is David Akers as our place kicker. I hate that we have David Akers. I hate that we got rid of Jason Hansen to a degree, forced him out the door. We saw Akers decline last season. I don't have any confidence in David Akers. Do you?
No. I'll give him a 5. I can't even do that. I gotta go floor. Yeah, I know he can do it. We've seen him do it. He did it for years. He's been in the league since, I don't know, before we were born or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, that was a complete meltdown last year, and it's, once your mental game's gone, it could just be gone. I don't know what kind. Maybe he, saw the Dalai Lama this summer.
Dome will give him that boost. Maybe, hey, I got my confidence back. I'm kicking indoors. Maybe that'll do it for David Akers. I don't know.
Yeah, true. I mean, whatever. And it's kind of, how much confidence can you have in a kicker? It's kind of like asking how much confidence I have in Sam Martin, the punter, who we drafted in the 5th round.
Did we drafted a punter?
Yes. The Detroit Lions drafted a punter in the 5th round.
No one would draft a punter. You can get them like after the draft as just free agent.
Well, you have to follow anything the Jacksonville Jaguars do. You should always immediately copy. That is it's the epitome of success.
Yeah.
Sustained success.
Well, that's why we take all their guys when they cut them. We pick up every Jaguar that hits the open market.
It's a solid move. You got to do it every time.
Oh, yeah, you got to build from a winner. If a winner cuts players, you got to pick them up. That's just the way to go. But with Sam Martin, confidence level in the rookie, if he's a 5th-round pick, he's got to be a stud. Confidence level, he's a punter. Nick Harris, when we had him, he was fine. I'm sure Sam Martin will be fine. I'm not overly confident in this kid until we see him on the field. Let's give him a 6. We drafted him in the 5th round. He's got to be higher than a 5 confidence level, right?
Yeah, I'm not even sure that I care.
I don't. Come on, we're trying to make it interesting for radio.
I'm just kidding. They obviously see something in him. They rated him very highly as a punter. I'll give Martin May the benefit of the doubt and give him a 7. It's a punter. We'll see what happens.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more concerned about who's going to be returning punts and kicks than who's going to be punting and kicking it. That's just
We don't know. We don't know who's returning. That confidence level there is
I don't think I can put a number. It's a question mark. We don't even know who the returner is going to be. We know about Super Jump 40, the guy with the super high vertical out of App State. But we know they said they might put Reggie Bush back there sometimes. It's all a guessing game. So this one we definitely have to wait and see before we give a real grade on the returner. But I don't know, did you put an actual number down for us?
No numbers, just Stephen Miller, the name, because, I love that burst. And returning kicks is all instinct anyways. I know, I'm sure there's certain things you learn and certain things that it can be studied on tape. But overall, it's just a go, go, go kind of play where you need to find that hole, squirt right through it, and keep going. And that's something he can do. So I'm hoping it's him. If it's him, I'll be excited. But other than that, I'm not sure I have any confidence in kick returning in general.
No, I guess I can have more confidence in whoever it is over what we got out of Stephen Logan last season. So that's a positive out of it, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's not saying much, but it's true.
All right. Well, let me say this. Everyone, again, if you didn't hear us the first time, please visit onit.com /Football Central. Go there. You get 10% off your vitamins and your supplements. Use it, visit the site, check it out, see what you think. It is definitely worth your time. Give it a look. Onit.com, that's onit.com, ONNIT.com /Football Central. Check it out. All right, so we've done the confidence ratings for each position, each player. We're optimistic. We're having fun with this. Now it's your turn. Get back to us on Twitter. Look at us on Facebook. Like us. Give us your thoughts. Are we way off base with some of these? Are we too excited about what GQ and Adonijay are bringing to the team? Does someone think David Akers is going to have a career resurrection at Ford Field? Let us know. Give us your voice, your thought. Brandon, I know you're open to listening to what the fans have to say.
Well, I can at least act like it. No, please, guys, interact with us, Facebook, Twitter. Let us know what you're thinking about. It's exciting because training camp's finally kicking off here. It'll give us some more. It'll give us some meat to work with here. So we have some new and exciting news to break down each week. We love to hear your thoughts, who you think should win the position battles and why. And until then, though, spread the word. Let people know if you enjoy it. That's the price of admission. That's all we ask. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and the ProFootballCentral.com site.
Another great show from Lions Central Radio. We're excited to come back next week. So until then, for Brandon, I'm Nick. Thank you so much for listening.
This has been a presentation of the Pro Football Central Network. For news, blogs, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.